Hey guys, Zibboyeye or just Zib is fine, and today we're looking at the sequel to Ju-On the Grudge. The fourth entry in the series, Ju-On the Grudge 2, released only a year after its predecessor. The film features creator of the series Takashi Shimizu returning to write and direct. But as of 2021, this would be the last Ju-On film Shimizu helmed both duties for. Like my last video, I will refer to the film as Ju-On 2 for simplicity's sake. With that out of the way, let's get right into it and look at Ju-On 2. The plot follows a film crew producing a TV special on the cursed house. Yet, with the Saeki's Ju-On still strong, the cast and crew meet a deadly fate one by one. Meanwhile, actress Kyoko Harase recovers from a miscarriage. However, mysteriously, a baby is still growing inside her. Can she survive to discover the meaning of this, or will she end up like the rest who have encountered the curse? Most of what I enjoyed about the prior film remains in Ju-On 2. The sound and music are still top-notch, and Takako Fuji returns with a vengeance as Kayako. As much of what I enjoyed about the preceding film is present in Ju-On 2, I fear we're treading old ground. So for more info on what I liked about that movie, I'll refer you to watch my review of Ju-On and The Grudge if you haven't already. But of course, Ju-On 2 brings some new to the table. The situation shifts the horror just a bit. The filming scenario feels more distant from the average viewer than the first film. The plots of Ju-On follow people visiting and moving into the cursed house. Most people can relate to moving into a new house, as can I. Because of that, the horror of Ju-On felt closer to home, forget the pun, than Ju-On 2. Ju-On has an advantageous setup in that regard, but that does little to set Ju-On 2 back. Ju-On 2 throws a slew of visual effects at the audience. Not a segment goes by without at least one unnerving display. I adore the creativity of the visuals in this film. These outrageous displays benefited Toshio and Kayako's character. It put their mastery of trickery front and center, making them more intimidating antagonists. The film never wears out any trick either. The visual variety amplifies the horror and kept me on my toes. The story rings similar to the horror. Tomoko's story plays with chronology through hallucinations. Later, Chiharu's segment jumps between the present and her prophetic dreamlike state. These plots twisted my expectation, almost like a Twilight Zone episode, and defined Ju-On 2 as another beast from the first movie. The overall plot is just as good. I enjoyed the scenario following the making of a shoddy documentary feature on the house. The house has an arc, it's like a character to me. There's its downfall when Takeo murdered his wife and child. But the inhabitants and visitors all perished due to the Saeki's haunting. Now it's abandoned, adorned with cobwebs, only existing as an urban legend, the scar of its past. I appreciate that the film didn't repeat the same scenario as the prior films, instead developing on them. Beyond providing a new experience, Ju-On 2 validates prior events by building off its previous movies. The story is segmented by characters once more, but they are united by a different factor than the previous film. In Ju-On, the story tells of how each character entered the house. The segments had a cause and effect relationship with each other, while Ju-On 2's plot is driven by the filming at the cursed house. All but one segment follows characters that were involved in that single incident. The filming is the inciting incident for the whole story as well as each segment. As the segments and overall narrative are instigated by the same event, there is a stronger cohesion between the pieces and whole of Ju-On 2 than its predecessor. Adding on to this is Ju-On 2's protagonist, Kyoko Harase. Every segment contributes to her story. The single event and single character that unites the segments give Ju-On 2 a great sense of focus. Starting here, I'll be discussing the ending, so it's spoilers until around this time. By the end of the film, Kyoko gives birth to a reborn Kayako who, at a later age, proceeds to kill her mother. This is a great ending to the film and Kayako's story. At the end of Ju-On, little changed. The house was still cursed and, at the time, presumably on the market. It had seemed like someone could move in as they had at the beginning of the film. But Ju-On 2 changes everything. Kayako's rebirth means she can spread her wrath beyond those who enter her house. The ending not only progresses the story of the Ju-On series, but concludes it. Ju-on 2 is a terrific movie that carried on what I loved about the first film while introducing a more focused plot featuring horrifying visuals and creative stories, all wrapped up in a conclusive end. Ju-on 2 surpasses the first movie in both horror and story to me. I love it, and although there are still a few entries in the series I haven't seen, this is my favorite Ju-on film. I'm gonna be blunt, I don't like having a video this short, so I'll slightly extend it by giving my thoughts on the Ju-on series as a whole. Okay? Good. Ju-on holds a unique place in its era of J-horror. J-horror in the late 90s, early 2000s is characterized by its commonly technophobic theme. But while many filmmakers look towards the future for scares, Shimizu reflected on the past. Ju-on takes traditional Japanese belief mixed with the classic haunted house genre and revitalizes these familiarities with creative story structure and scares that got to me. The setting made me question what could lurk in my own home. After watching the two films, I'd lie in bed and pay probably too much attention to the creaks and crackings of my home until my mind relented and succumbed to sleep. That is what makes a scary movie in my opinion, when the inner thoughts allow the horror to extend beyond the film length, and Ju-on did just that for me. I've been Zibboyeye, or just Zib is fine, and thank you for watching. Zibbo bye bye!